Welcome to this new video in which I'll introduce you to a template that crawls all the pages of a site and automatically generates title tag and meta description tag for each page using ChatGPT. So, with just 15 or so blocks, we've created a screaming frog crawler of sorts, and in the end we get an Excel file with all the title tags and description tags automatically generated for all the URLs. Here's the template in question, so I'll run it to give you the demo first. I run it, enter the URL of the site to be crawled, and off I go. It's now crawling all the pages on the site and automatically generating title tags and meta description tags. At the end of the template, it automatically downloaded a CSV file with all the URLs, title tags, and meta description tags that were automatically generated. So here's the Excel file. So you see a URL column with all the URLs that have been crawled, a column with all the title tags generated, and a description column with all the meta description tags automatically generated with ChatGPT. Now, how does this template work? This isn't a training video where I explain everything precisely, but at least you'll understand the logic and methodology. So first of all, I created an array in my Automa template, which corresponds to what you saw in the Excel file at the end, with a URL column, a title column, and a description column. So it's an internal table in the template that I'm going to feed as I crawl. First of all, I initialize two variables. The variable that will contain all the URLs to be crawled, because initially it's empty, and a counter. It's a simple variable starting at 0, which will allow you to go through each line of the table containing the URLs so as to crawl them all one by one. Second step, I obtain the number of links in the table containing all the URLs. This way, I know how many URLs I'll have to crawl. This is the beginning of the template. We simply have the URL we entered at the start. So for the moment, the table has only one line. Then with a while loop block, I'm going to create a loop that will allow me to go through all the URLs in the table to be crawled with a simple condition. Basically, I'll just say, as long as my little counter, which starts at 0, is less than the total number of links crawled, you continue this whole process. However, once the condition is no longer met, the loop ends and we exit here. Here we have the block that will create the CSV export from the Thomas table I created at the start. If the condition is met, I launch the crawling process. First of all, I check if it's a valid URL to crawl. In other words, roughly speaking, does it contain the domain that I entered, the starting URL that I entered at the very beginning? Does it not contain a £? And then other parameters like, do I not want the images? For example, I don't want to crawl images, so no.jpg, no.png, no.wp. So after that, anyone can create, reshape, and modify all the conditions as they see fit. It's very simple. So if the condition is met, if the URL is valid, I open this URL using the notion of syntax, what we call a mustache in Automa. This is what allows you to use dynamic data such as variables. In this case, it's what's going to allow me to read the right link to crawl in the table. Once the URL is open, I retrieve the content of the site's main zone in a main HTML tag. I store it all in a variable I call content. From here, I retrieve all the links on the page. What are links? They're A tags. I'm going to retrieve all the A tags on the page. Since there will be several, I'll check an option called multiple, and I'll save all the links, or at least all the href attributes of these links, i.e. the links, the URLs themselves, in a variable I call links update. I'll then process these links to compare my original crawler table with any new links found, so as to complete the original table with any new URLs. Any new URLs, I won't go into detail here. I suck at JavaScript. My GPT chats always give me the solutions. I'm going to retrieve my table with all the links. All those I've just retrieved by crawling the page. And with a JavaScript function, I'll check whether in the new links found, there are indeed URLs that aren't present in the original table, in which case I'll add them to the table to be crawled. Next, I save the URL I've crawled in the Automa table in the first URL column, and I'll also create prompts to retrieve the title and description tags. Thanks to the next two blocks, which will send HTTP requests, so it'll happen invisibly, the browser won't be solicited at all. During this operation, I use the API to contact ChatGPT and send it my prompt. Basically, I've got a prompt that's going to say, create me a title tag like this for the following content. And the next content will be the whole article, all the text on the page. Same principle with the meta description tag. I'll send him my prompt to create the meta description along with the complete page content. That way, he'll have enough information to analyze and suggest optimal solutions. This brings me to the end of my loop. I've filled in the first line of my table here in Automa. I've filled in the crested URL, the generated title tag, the generated description tag, and this is how I increment my counter, the famous start counter, which corresponds to the line in the table of URLs to be checked. We've just made one, so I'll move on to the next line. I increment my counter and return in this case to this step. And here I'll recount the number of links in my table. And since we've done a first pass, we've analyzed one page, we've retrieved all the links on the page. This time my table doesn't just have the starting URL, it has all the URLs to be checked, and that's how it's going to be repeated on each page. Each page will be analyzed, the content will be retrieved, all the links will be retrieved, and the table of links to be checked will be completed like this. The table of links to be checked according to the new URLs found. So there you have the demo in scrapping mode, i.e. invisible mode. The browser is in use, so potentially it could disrupt your browsing if you want to use it in parallel, but we can do it invisibly. The whole process, a bit like Screaming Frog, we're going to run the template and we're not going to see anything. So it won't open a tab in the browser at all. It won't disrupt your browsing. Thanks to the block, we'll come back to it, HTTP request, because this block will work in the background invisibly. So it will never disturb your browsing. So instead of opening the URL to be checked, we're going to send a request, HTTP, to retrieve the page content. We'll save it in a variable called HTML and apply a little processing afterwards with a little JavaScript block. So once again, ChatGPT gave me the code. I explained to him what I wanted to do, and he gave me the code. So what it's going to do is the same thing as in scrapping mode. On the one hand, it's going to retrieve the text content of the entire page, of the main area, and it's going to retrieve all the links on the page, quite simply. And then we're back on track, back to the step where we check whether any new links have been found in comparison with the table containing the original links. And then the process. So I'll show you. Here, I'll simply chain this. I'm going to move it over here. And you'll notice the difference right away. So my browser, it's here, so here it is. I'm going to launch the template. Here we go. Now it's running. And behind it, nothing happens. There's no new tab open. I can continue to use Chrome without any problem. And you see there's a little one on the Automa icon, which means there's a template running. But still, it's easy to navigate. It's working on its own. So I'm going to cut it off. I'm not going to let it skim every page. That's that. And we'll check the results. Because in the logs of a template, you can check where you are. So this is the one I've just run, and I can look at the table and see how it's been fed. There you go. As you can see, while I was quietly surfing on Chrome, it picked up the URLs to be checked. It skimmed them all, at least all the ones before I stopped. It generated the title tags, the description tags, and you see it's totally transparent, just like a screaming frog would do. In no way does it disrupt your navigation. So you see it's a template that's far from archi-complex, requiring roughly a dozen or 15 blocks. With these few steps, you can create a screaming frog-style crusher and configure it as you wish, according to your needs. You'll find this template in my Thomas training course, so you can analyze and test it for yourself. The link is in the video description. You didn't understand everything. Don't worry, that's normal. It wasn't a training video, but a demonstration video. The aim of my training is to teach you how to progressively master Thomas so that you'll be comfortable using all templates. Did you enjoy this video? Then please feel free to like, comment, and share it. It's what motivates me to make more videos for you. And if you have any ideas for templates you'd like to see in a future video, let me know in the comments. And of course, if you don't want to miss any future videos, subscribe to my channel.